dream destinations, exceptional cruises, polar adventures. Welcome to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast that takes you where the journey truly begins. A production of Area Voyages.
Picture this scenario. You've just authorized a wire transfer for literally tens of thousands of dollars for this ultimate high-end luxury vacation.
Right, a serious investment.
Exactly. You've bought all the best techno gear, you've completely cleared your schedule for 3 weeks, and you finally step on board the vessel. And naturally, you're expecting the kind of meticulously crafted, minute-by-minute itinerary that usually comes with that kind of price tag.
Which is how traditional luxury travel works, yeah.
But instead, you discover that the daily schedule is essentially, well, a suggestion. Rather than some rigid plan dictating your lunch hour or your excursions, your entire day is entirely at the mercy of, like, a sudden shift in the polar sea ice.
Or just the unscripted appearance of a pod of humpback whales, right? Just deciding to feed right in your path.
Yes. And surrendering that control to the elements is basically the central theme we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
It's such a fascinating shift in mindset.
It really is. We're looking through a super comprehensive 2026 travel guide compiled by cruise specialist Yvon Jr. Blanchette. He's from ARI Voyages. And his material focuses heavily on Quark Expeditions.
Right, which is the brand that has largely defined the modern parameters of polar travel.
Exactly. So the primary goal for this deep dive is to analyze what Quark calls their expedition first philosophy. We want to break down the mechanics of this operation so you can figure out if this specific brand of rugged, access-driven travel is the right fit for your bucket list.
Or if, your resources would be better spent on a more conventional ultra-luxury ocean line.
Right. And looking at the origin story in the source material, Quark's underlying philosophy makes a lot of sense. They didn't start by chartering some luxury yacht in the Mediterranean.
No, not at all.
Back in 1991, the founders, Mike McDowell and Lars Wickander, they took a group of commercial travelers to the actual North Pole on a literal nuclear-powered icebreaker.
The 50 years of victory? Yeah, it's wild.
Setting aside how intense that sounds, starting your company on a nuclear icebreaker establishes a very specific kind of corporate DNA.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That operation set a precedent that still governs all their logistical decisions today. They weren't optimizing for onboard comfort, they were optimizing for geographic penetration.
Right, just getting as far in as possible.
Exactly. Quark was built around pushing the absolute physical boundaries of where non-scientific personnel could safely go. They executed the first commercial passenger circumnavigation of Antarctica in 1996.
Wow.
And then they repeated the exact same feat for the Arctic Ocean in 1999.
But navigating to those extremes, it requires a fundamental shift in who is actually calling the shots.
Yeah.
Because if the environment is dictating the schedule, the captain up on the bridge needs, an entirely different kind of support staff.
Yeah, and this is where Quark really diverges from the standard cruise model.
They boast the largest expedition team in the polar travel industry. And we aren't talking about tour guides with megaphones reading historical trivia.
No, definitely not.
We are talking about active glaciologists, ornithologists, historians, and marine biologists.
They're essentially deploying a mobile academic research station and just allowing passengers to tag along. The unpredictability of the polar environment actually demands that level of expertise.
How so?
Well, say a specific ice floe blocks a planned landing site at the HO Islands. The team needs the geological and biological knowledge to instantly pivot to an alternative site 3 miles away, and they still have to deliver a substantive experience. The agility is literally the product.
Okay, I understand the logistical necessity for the captain, but I'm going to push back a little on the passenger side of this equation.
Okay, let's hear it.
Having a university faculty moonlighting as Indiana Jones sounds great on paper. But if I'm on a vacation, taking time away from a high-stress career, I just want to see the king penguins, take some incredible photos, and decompress.
Right, you want to relax.
Yeah, I'm slightly hesitant about the idea of attending, mandatory scientific lectures.
That skepticism is incredibly common among first-time polar travelers. The assumption is usually that you're paying to sit in a floating classroom.
Right.
But the reality of why that expert presence matters comes down to cognitive processing. Think about it. When you're standing in a zodiac, looking at a massive glacier calving into the ocean, the visual scale is staggering.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
But without the technical context, your brain just processes it as a very large piece of falling ice.
A stunning photo op, basically, but a passive one.
Exactly. But when the glaciologist standing next to you in that zodiac explains the mechanics of what you are witnessing, how the compressed blue ice contains trapped atmospheric bubbles from the Roman Empire.
Wait, really? From the Roman Empire?
Yes. And how the calving process is driven by specific tidal pressures. Suddenly, the landscape gains a fourth dimension. The visual data is combined with real historical and scientific comprehension.
Okay, I do appreciate the Roman Empire air bubbles. But, I mean, if I've been sea kayaking in sub-zero temperatures all afternoon, my primary goal is a hot shower and a drink.
Totally fair.
The guide mentions these evening recap theater sessions. Do I really want to be doing homework before dinner?
Well, the operative concept there is that it isn't homework. And it certainly isn't mandatory.
Oh, it's not?
No, not at all. The evening recaps are just designed to create a coherent narrative arc for the day's chaos. You might have seen a specific bird behavior in the morning, and then a strange ice formation in the afternoon.
Right.
The experts use those evening sessions to connect those isolated incidents into a broader ecological picture. And guests actually consistently cite the synthesis as the most valuable aspect of the trip.
Really? More than the actual sites?
Because it transforms them from passive observers into informed participants. It makes the whole experience click.
Fair enough. But possessing the intellectual capital to explain the ice doesn't really matter if your vessel physically cannot reach it.
Exactly. Hardware is everything out there.
Let's examine that hardware, because this is where the engineering gets super fascinating. The flagship of their fleet is the Ultramarine. And looking at its specifications, this ship is engineered to solve one highly specific metric.
The speed of human deployment.
Yes. That speed seems to be the ultimate currency in polar expedition travel.
It is. The Ultramarine was purpose-built to minimize the friction between the passenger and the environment.
So let's look at how they achieve that, starting with the internal Zodiac hangar. It holds 20 of these rigid inflatable boats inside the hull.
Which is a huge deal. In a traditional setup, you have guests waiting in stairwells while a crane slowly lowers a few boats from a top deck.
Right, whereas the Ultramarine functions more like a water-level deployment bay. I think of it like a Formula One pit stop.
That's a great analogy.
But my question is, why are we treating a wildlife viewing excursion like a high-speed motorsport? We have 3 weeks out there.
Because the weather windows in the polar regions do not care about your 3-week vacation schedule. A localized atmospheric shift can close a viable landing window in 15 minutes.
Oh wow, 15 minutes.
Yeah. If the bridge spots an opening in the ice pack or a unique congregation of feeding whales, they cannot afford a 45-minute crane deployment sequence.
So they have to strike while the iron is hot.
Exactly. By utilizing that internal hangar, the Ultramarine can deploy its 199 guests onto the water in roughly half the time of older expedition vessels.
Meaning every minute saved in the hangar is an extra minute spent on the water before the katabatic winds pick up and force everyone back inside.
Precisely. You are literally buying time in the environment, and that obsession with access extends to the aviation side too.
Right, the helicopters. The ship features 2 twin-engine Airbus H-145 helicopters operating from dedicated twin helidecks.
Which is no small feat.
Operating helicopters in a maritime environment is already a logistical nightmare just due to the saline air. Operating twin-engine H-145s in sub-zero polar thermals requires specialized hangaring, intensive maintenance, and highly specialized pilots.
The economics of that decision are staggering.
They aren't just doing that for scenic joyrides, are they?
No, they do it to unlock vertical access. A Zodiac can only take you to the shoreline. The H-145s allow Quark to bypass impassable sea ice and drop guests onto glacial surfaces or inland topography that a boat simply cannot reach.
Do you have an example?
The prime example of this is the Emperor Penguin quest to Snow Hill Island.
I saw that in the guide. It's framed as one of the rarest wildlife encounters on the planet.
It is, because the colony is situated in a location where the sea ice is typically too thick for even advanced ice-class vessels to penetrate, but too thin to safely traverse on foot.
So you're just stuck.
Normally, yes.
Ugh.
The only viable method of access is to park the ship miles away in the pack ice and use the helicopters to bridge the gap. The hardware literally dictates the realm of the possible.
That is incredible. Let's touch on the rest of the fleet, too, because the engineering strategies vary. You have the Ocean Explorer, carrying 138 guests.
Right.
And this vessel utilizes the Ulstein XBO design. Anyone looking at polar travel knows the Drake Passage is the ultimate toll booth you have to pay to reach the Antarctic ice.
Oh, absolutely. It's notorious.
It is a terrifying stretch of water where the lack of landmass allows ocean currents to circulate the globe unimpeded.
And the XBOW is a direct engineering countermeasure to those conditions. Traditional ship bows flare outward, which means they slam down onto the top of the wave crests.
Right, causing that horrible pitching.
Yeah, that slamming action causes the violent upward pitching that triggers seasickness, and it bleeds the vessel's forward momentum.
While the inverted XBOW is designed to, pierce the base of the wave.
It slices through the water volume rather than riding over it. This redistributes the buoyancy, dramatically reducing the pitch and allowing the ship to maintain a higher sustained speed through turbulent seas.
That sounds like a game changer for anyone prone to motion sickness.
Definitely. It also features a gasification system, which is a critical environmental technology. Instead of storing organic waste to be offloaded later, the system thermally converts it into syngas.
Generating energy to power the ship's internal systems without dumping anything into pristine waters? That's really smart.
Yeah, it's very forward-thinking.
And then for travelers who want a slightly more traditional luxury footprint, there is the World Explorer.
Right.
It accommodates 176 guests and features an all-balcony, all-suite layout. It offers the rugged hull required for polar transit, but with a sweet finish that feels closer to an ultra-luxury ocean line.
It essentially caters to the demographic that wants the off-ship adventure, but still demands a private veranda to drink their morning espresso while watching the icebergs drift past.
Which honestly sounds pretty amazing. But let's transition to what actually happens when you leave that veranda.
Yes, the activities.
Because deploying rapidly from a high-tech internal hangar implies you are heading out to do some serious work. The daily grind of an expedition cruise reads like an athletic undertaking.
It is fundamentally an active pursuit. Assuming the weather cooperates, the baseline operational tempo involves 2 distinct Zodiac deployments per day.
How does that work with almost 200 people?
Guests are sorted into color-coded groups, cycling through staging rooms to don their specialized cold weather gear before moving to the embarkation bays.
And beyond the standard Zodiac cruising and shore landings, the guide outlines optional activities that genuinely test your physical limits.
Like what?
Well, you can see kayak through brash ice, do some stand-up paddle boarding, or even volunteer for an overnight camping excursion directly on the polar ice.
Which is an incredible experience.
And then there's the polar plunge.
Ah, yes. The voluntary immersion into water hovering around the freezing point.
I read about the physiology of this. The sudden thermal drop causes immediate peripheral vasoconstriction. Your body pulls all the blood to your vital organs, and your nervous system screams at you to get out.
That is exactly what happens.
Why are rational adults paying premium rates to induce a survival response?
It functions as a psychological threshold. Surviving that acute physical shock creates a massive rush of endorphins and adrenaline.
Yes, that makes sense.
But more importantly, it serves as a shared bonding mechanism. When 100 people willingly subject themselves to that intensity, the resulting camaraderie fundamentally alters the social dynamic on the ship.
Right.
You just don't get that kind of instant visceral connection among passengers passively lounging by a pool in the Caribbean.
It is trauma bonding wrapped in a luxury price tag. I love it.
Exactly.
Now, moving from physical endurance to cultural immersion, there is a specific initiative in the Arctic itineraries that caught my eye. Quark runs a program in Greenland called Tundra to Table.
Yes, this is really special.
Usually high-end cruise food is an exercise in logistical excess house. Endless buffets, imported caviar, massive carting stations. But this program brings local Inuit chefs directly onto the expedition ship to prepare authentic Greenlandic cuisine.
It feels like a very deliberate pivot.
It does. Wait, so they have actual local chefs cooking on the ship?
Yes. It is a profound shift in the ethical and cultural framework of expedition travel. Historically, polar exploration has operated on a dynamic of observation.
What do you mean by that?
Outsiders sail into a remote region, look at the landscape, photograph the wildlife, and sail away without ever engaging the local populations.
A sort of sanitized floating terrarium experience.
Exactly. But by partnering with the Greenlandic culinary group Igapol, Quark disrupts that model. When Inuit chefs are in the galleys preparing regional dishes and sharing the historical context of their ingredients with the guests, the dynamic changes from observation to engagement.
That's incredible.
You are no longer just looking at the Arctic. You are interacting with the people who have engineered a life in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Yvonne Junior Blanchette highlights this as a benchmark for cultural immersion in the sector.
So we understand the hardware required to get there and the physical and cultural activities you engage in upon arrival. The next logical hurdle for the prospective traveler is destination selection.
Right. Where do you actually go?
The Arctic and Antarctica are often lumped together as the poles, but they offer radically different propositions. Let's start with Antarctica. The operational season runs strictly from November through March.
And your specific departure month completely dictates your environmental experience.
Yeah, so
if you prioritize pristine landscapes, you book early in the season, like November or early December. The winter pack ice is just beginning to fracture, the snow is untouched by wildlife, and you will witness the peak of penguin courtship and nest-building behaviors.
But if you delay until January or February, the continent is in the peak of its brief summer.
Exactly. That is the window for biological density. The penguin colonies are chaotic with hatching chicks, but the primary draw is the cetacean activity.
The whales.
Yes. This is the peak feeding season for whales. If your objective is to have a humpback whale breach 50 feet from your zodiac, January and February offer the highest statistical probability.
And as we mentioned earlier, getting to Antarctica usually requires paying the toll of the Drake Passage. But the guide mentions a specific workaround called the Antarctic Express.
Ah, yes.
I assume this is the ultimate cheat code for travelers whose vestibular systems cannot handle 30-foot swells.
It absolutely is. The fly cruise option bypasses the maritime choke point entirely. Travelers fly directly from South America over the Drake Passage, landing on an airstrip in the South Shetland Islands, where they immediately board the vessel.
Oh, wow. That's so convenient.
It eliminates 4 days of potentially brutal open ocean transit and maximizes the time spent actively exploring the peninsula.
Flipping to the northern hemisphere, the Arctic season operates from May through September. But the Arctic is not a monolith, right? It's highly regionalized.
Very much so. You have 3 distinct primary theaters. Svalbard, the Norwegian archipelago, is the biological heavyweight.
Because of the Gulf Stream.
Yes. Due to the influence of the Gulf Stream, it is highly accessible and represents your highest probability of encountering polar bears on the pack ice, along with massive walrus haulouts.
Then you have Greenland, which we discussed regarding the Tundra to Table program.
Right. That destination optimizes for dramatic geological scale, massive fjords, sheer ice faces, and the Inuit cultural connection.
And the third theater.
Finally, the Canadian High Arctic and the Northwest Passage. This route appeals heavily to historical purists. You are navigating the same convoluted, ice-choked channels that trapped early European explorers for years as they desperately searched for a maritime route to Asia.
It offers a much more austere, historically heavy atmosphere.
Exactly.
That brings us to the most critical section of the guide, the competitor analysis. Yvonne Junior Blanchette directly compares Quark against several heavyweights in the high-end travel space.
This is where you really have to define your priorities.
Right. You have Silversea offering an ultra-luxury all-suite fleet with dedicated butler service. You have Seabourn integrating custom submarines into their luxury vessels. And Hurtigruten providing a more mainstream, larger ship experience heavily rooted in their Norwegian heritage.
All very different approaches.
Let me play the role of the skeptical consumer here. If I have a travel budget of $30,000 or $40,000, why would I not choose Silversea? If the environment outside the ship is freezing and hostile, shouldn't the environment inside the ship feature a butler handing me a bespoke cocktail?
That tension right there is the fundamental decision every polar traveler must resolve. Neither approach is objectively wrong, but they optimize for entirely different variables.
How does the guide synthesize this divergence?
Well, companies like Silversea operate on the premise that comfort itself is an integral part of the adventure. It is for the demographic that wants to witness the raw power of the ice pack through panoramic glass, swathed in premium textiles with frictionless onboard service.
Luxury of insulation.
Exactly. Quark, however, operates on the premise that access is the ultimate luxury. They allocate their resources not to Butley academies, but to maintaining twin-engine helicopters and scaling the largest scientific expedition team in the industry.
So they are optimizing for the moment spent off the ship.
Yes. It is a trade-off between the thread count of your sheets and the biological data you are absorbing in the Zodiac.
That makes total sense.
If you are willing to embrace the physical fatigue, the unpredictable scheduling, and the intellectual engagement required to understand the biome, Quark delivers a level of geographic and educational penetration that traditional luxury lines structurally cannot match.
So, synthesizing everything we've unpacked today, a deep dive into Quark Expeditions really reveals a fundamental paradigm shift in how we define a premium travel experience.
It really does. It strips away the passive consumption usually associated with high-end vacations.
Right. Instead, it relies on advanced engineering, inverted wave-piercing bows, internal water-level hangars, and specialized aviation combined with deep scientific expertise to place you directly inside the most unforgiving environments on the planet.
It demands a traveler who is comfortable with ambiguity. You have to be psychologically prepared to wake up, look at your itinerary, and feel genuine excitement when the expedition leader announces over the PA system that the entire day has been scrapped.
Because the ice shifted, right?
Exactly. Or because a pod of orcas has been spotted on the horizon.
Which leaves you with an interesting psychological question to consider long after this deep dive ends. Take a moment to examine your normal daily routine.
Yeah, think about how scheduled we all are.
Our modern lives are defined by a relentless obsession with control. We are micromanaged by algorithmic calendars, digital notifications, and rigid schedules that dictate exactly where we must be at every given moment.
It's exhausting.
If you possess the resources to travel anywhere in the world, is the highest expression of luxury actually found in a butler or a larger suite?
Or is it something else?
Is the ultimate, rarest luxury left in the modern world the ability to willingly surrender total control of your day to the unpredictable, unscripted mechanics of the wild?
You've been listening to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast by Area Voyages. The full article for this episode is available at www.areavoyages.com. Remember to like, share the podcast, and leave a review to help promote our work. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Until next time, safe travels.